The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
I've seen some of the criticism that has been thrown your way regarding your comment that Savannah Guthrie was the only one to see it, and I want to make this correction for a certain OBOT who might be listening right now. I'm not going to mention him by name because I don't want to give him the publicity, but that person said that Savannah Guthrie, they said that Savannah Guthrie was not the only person to see it because J. Scott Applewhite was allowed to see it as well, and he took a photograph of it. J. Scott Applewhite took a picture of the photocopy that was handed to the reporters. He did not take a picture of what is being purported to be a certified copy coming out of the DOH in Hawaii. But that shows the extent to which OBOTs will go to make something up.
Well, so the audience understands. They are paid liars. That's why. They were organized from the White House. WorldNet Daily reported that Jim Johnson, former head of Fannie Mae, was the one who organized them, and he organized them, and that's how that worked. It's just propaganda. It was to kill any story. If you have to pay now it's up to $2 million to Perkins Coie to defend it and seal all of your records, you know you have a problem. But obviously the American people are too dumb to have seen this or pay attention to it. So that's what mystifies me is we're brain dead. Is it academia's dumbed them all down? I don't understand.
Well, but part of it, Doug, is that old saying of the bigger the lie is, the more likely it is to be believed.
Yeah,
and I remember, right out of Nazi Germany. And I remember the day it was released. I talked to a person who I thought was reasonably intelligent, and they said, "Oh, well, it's all over now. Obama released it." I said, "Have you seen it?" "Well, no." "Well, then how do you know it's real?" "Oh, my gosh, certainly he wouldn't have released a forged copy. That would be crazy. It has to be real. Somebody would do something about it."
This guy is a pathological liar. I have, if you go onto ObamaForgeryBook.com, on the left-hand side, under video and audio files, there are two that everybody must listen to. It says Obama Malignant Narcissist 1 and then 2. Those are two radio interviews that were conducted on Israel National News. One, I think, was 2009. The other one was 2012. And it was the world foremost expert on narcissism. And he has labeled this guy a malignant narcissist. And you listen to it, and you will understand what we're dealing with.
Rush Limbaugh's brother David came on the show one time, and he said that he had talked to a psychiatrist that Obama definitely crosses over from just being a narcissist to someone with malignant narcissism. When we say Obama is a narcissist, we're not talking about somebody that might like to catch a glimpse of themselves in a mirror every once in a while. We're talking about somebody who has crossed over into having a genuine psychological problem and needs help.
Well, the one key thing regarding narcissists, you cannot control them at all. Those who thought they could control Hitler found out different. The same thing would go for Napoleon or Saddam Hussein or those type. It is they live in their own fantasy world. The Saudis found out the hard way. We know paid at least $20 million to get him into Harvard and give him some kind of a title. But the fact remains is he double-crossed them. He double-crossed them by putting the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And you read what's on Depka File and others, they're angry with him. They hate his guts. They want to remove the United States from the Middle East. Not kidding. So that's what he's done. But again, I think they finally learned about a year or 2 years ago. It finally dawned on them then that they're really the target. So away from politics, back to this, the birth certificate stuff. The evidence that's in the affidavit, you should read it. It's really just the facts. The book will have more of the other stuff and more explanation and stuff like that. But we have to do it for an affidavit. It's going to be just the facts, which we did. And it's 20 points of forgery. Everything from the registrar's stamp. In fact, that's the strangest part of the whole thing. The forger, we have legitimate registrar stamps. They're metal stamps, embossed metal stamps. And you don't have an error in them. The companies who make metal embossed stamps don't have errors like these in it. When the forger was doing them, I mean, even on the short form, and the others she did not only for Obama, for others, every place they make a different mistake on the registrar stamp. Everything from different leading, different flush left, even word spacing was different. It was just really weird. And for instance, on the bottom where it says Onaka's signature, it says State Registrar. When I took the first letter of S and I moved it to the back of the RN registrar, it's a whole point size smaller than the last letter. In other words, the letters actually grow larger as it goes towards the right-hand side. You can't do that unless it's in Photoshop. I used to be a typesetter. I know. They don't make those machines that do it like that.
Doug, tell my audience real quick how many years of typesetting experience you have.
I owned a typesetting company, Nova Typesetting, from 1978 to about 90, I think it was. And then I went to graphics business and started this business about 93. So
let me play devil's advocate for a minute. There's no way.
And Paul's been doing it for 50 years. Paul's been in the business for 50 years.
The difference in point size was due to ink accumulation or,
Can't be. It's metal. Metal and more stamp. Can't be.
Gotcha.
They don't make mistakes like that.
Funny how
Nobody does.
Funny how Alvin Onaka, the person whose name is on that stamp, doesn't talk to the media. Do you know any other state registrars that have a policy of not talking to the media?
He's probably very nervous. I had written him a registered restricted delivery letter where I showed him 7 or 8 registrar stamps, and I said, 2 of these are on provable known forgeries. Can you confirm which ones are yours and which ones are forgeries? I never heard back from him. But that letter was also copied to the special agent in charge, the FBI in Honolulu, the U.S. Attorney in Honolulu, and Mike Zulu in the sheriff's office. So I've got it on record. He got it. He can't plead he had no idea and didn't know forgeries were out there. I nailed him on that one. But also, the easiest thing for a forger to do is a registrar stamp. All you have to do is scan it in, leave it alone, and put it on your forged document. Then why is she altering this thing? And the only answer you can come up with is plausible deniability for the registrar. There's no other logical explanation. You don't have to do what she was doing.
You're saying she, so once again you're telling us that the forger is a female.
Oh, yeah. The forger is a female, and they knew each other when they were kids in Hawaii. This is not something that you can go out and advertise for, you know?
Yeah, you can't just call down to Kinko's and say, we need one fake birth certificate, please, or the White House print office or whatever. Did you notice that the U.S. media chose not to pick up on the story about what happened in Puerto Rico with the birth certificates?
I'm going to tell you something that Paul and I discovered. Actually, I discovered the name. He already knew that the media was controlled. At first, I didn't know if I should believe it or not when I first met Paul back, 2011, July, I think, when I went to Hawaii with Orly. I came across Operation Mockingbird. Go look it up. It started in 1951. You can search on the internet for the church committee hearings, and there's a whole bunch. There's a lot there. Anyway, in the church committee, they were cross-examining the CIA and what they were doing, and their budget at the time was at least $1 billion, and the surface story, what they said, they admitted to in the committee, was that they were going to use the money to bribe editors and publishers to put in their stories. This is back to 51. This is Truman. And Truman was the one who created the CIA in 47. And it wasn't just that. Paul's good friend was an editor at one of the major TV stations in New York City. It was either NBC, CBS, and ABC, and Paul has not told me because the guy, after he left his job, left the country. And what he told Paul was that they're in fear of their lives. They're threatened. If they have to basically, if there's a questionable story, they have to submit it to some office in Washington, D.C., most likely the CIA, and they decide whether you're going to run with the story or not. And that's why we have controlled news. We're no better than Pravda and Izvestia. That's the problem. We think we have free news. We don't. In fact, I'm beginning to believe that the reason why that author, I can't remember the lady's name, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, why she got the Pulitzer Prize, I think it was in 1958 or 59, is because the editors and publishers were basically saying between the lines, we'd like to kill this program, but we don't know how. That's why we're not getting the story out in the main media, including Fox, because some of them can't. They're controlled. You've done interviews with Mike Zulu. He said reporters came up and said they'd lose their job if they report this stuff.
He had a reporter come up to him, and they actually said, and they said it to Arpaio as well, you know what? When I went to your first press conference and I saw all the goods, you guys had the goods on Obama. It was a done deal. It was a slam dunk. And I tried to tell my supervisors, hey, they've got something there. They put forward some pretty impressive evidence. And this person was told under no circumstances will we pursue this story.
And the CIA should really be called Central Information Agency. That's really, they're controlling the information that the American public get. Another way they gave it away, really stupidly, is when Al Jazeera wanted to broadcast in the United States. And the FCC, who you'd think do this, said you have to contact the CIA and abide by their rules for giving the news to the American public. Now, I read the law that created the CIA. And, in fact, I searched the current statutes. And you know something? There's nothing in there about the media, the press, nothing. They have no authority to do this. But they're doing it anyway. So this is the problem we have. That's why the only way around that I could find, my background is accounting, that was my degree, is when I read the law, misprision of felony and treason, the founding fathers are the ones to thank. If we find an honest judge, the whole idea is if this judge doesn't do it and give me a hard time, then we're going to mail it off to lots of other federal judges. We'll find one in a red state that sees what this guy's doing and says, I have the power to put in my grand jury and we'll run with it. Because I'm in a red state. I'm a highly Democrat state. I should say not the whole state, only King County where, the liberals are. And what do I say?
Wouldn't that be a blue state?
Yeah, this is a blue state, Seattle. And only King County and Pierce and some of Snohomish. The rest of the state is Republican, but all the power is here and here, and that's the problem. It's that's the way it is. They're a bunch of crooks too, but they spend their money quite liberally. Sound familiar? So that's the issue. That's why I chose this method. So we're asking for contributions to send full color versions of the affidavit and the other filings, except for the sealed one. Unless the judge asks for it, then I'll send a sealed one off to the judge. But I have to send off
for people who want to help you out, Doug, for people who want to help you out and make a donation, how do they go about doing that?
Just go on the website. I have the donate button there, or to order if they want to order color one. It costs $26 to send it off to the judge, and if you want one also, it's $26 basically. Just tell me which one you want. Is it a contribution, or is it going to a judge, or it's going to go to you?
Now, what I'm about to ask you, there is no 100% correct on the money answer for, but I'd still like to get your opinion. Looking at these two laws, the misprision of treason, the misprision of felony, and taking a look at these two, based on what you know in terms of the funny business that's gone on with Obama's records, all the people keeping their mouths shut, the people that have been hired to smear anyone who challenges the birth certificate's authenticity, how many people in the end do you think will be doing prison time because of these two laws?
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.